Alright guys, here we're going to talk about Pushing Daisies Season 1, Episode 6.
This episode I remembered, but I forgot the ending or the whodunit aspect of it. But
Okay.
I did remember all this dog stuff and then pairing up with the different wives and the whole thing. I really enjoyed the one obedience wife with Emerson,
the clicker and Emerson.
And him going, "Ooh," and responding to him being trained by stuff. That was really funny to me.
This seemed, what was interesting to me is I'm like, they just have a polygamist in the middle of their normal town thing, and
Yeah.
it wasn't like it was a hidden thing. They had a weird dynamic here with their dog thing, and people knew, and I'm like, okay, I guess you can just be a polygamist.
Hey man,
You can't.
in a world full of pies, the polygamist is king.
Yes, they did. So
On that topic, really quick, I really liked Emerson's he's a damn polygamist, and then the narrator's Harold was indeed a damn polygamist, and go and start showing the wives, the montage of the wives getting married, and if you look at each wife's face as they add new wives, how they're all fuck
the
this.
Asian lady's face was the funniest.
Yeah, they're so upset to be in a different colored dress and not the one getting married, but the one getting married is so happy, and the guy is so happy, and every picture exactly the same. It's so funny. I was like, okay, thank you. This is wonderful.
Yes, and then that man went on to be in Community.
I was gonna say he's that guy.
He's the talk soup guy.
Joel McHale?
Yes.
Yeah. Who has 4 lines of dialogue in the whole thing.
Yeah, I thought it was funny when you first saw him because I was like, oh well, that was kind of a throwaway, and then I'm like, okay, he's gonna come back for a little bit of backstory filling, but in general, it really wasn't in it very much.
Super. I don't want to say underused, it's a bad it's a bad thing, but you hire someone, presumably because of their experience, what they bring to the table, and then you choose to use that character in a way that has extra, because the narrator talks over all the flashbacks.
Yeah.
So it's not even well yeah, he dies, but that doesn't matter. He can be in all the flashbacks. It was all relying on his face and mannerisms and
sold
doing
it, though.
stuff. He's great.
Yeah.
But it's so good to pick someone who's known for saying funny things and not use them to say funny things. I love that.
I wonder if this was a paycheck, a favor, or whatever, because it seems like an interesting choice for him.
Yeah, right?
But, whatever.
Little gem.
Jobs are jobs.
We presume he was here working.
So we got the 4 wives. One is an obedience dog trainer. One is a Gucci dog salesman. One is a blind dog,
Dogs for the blind.
For the blind.
And a doggy therapist person.
Yes. And the dog therapist is a traditional British therapist with a pipe, except for dogs.
For dogs. Yeah, the dogs lay on a couch and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So we'll go in reverse order then. Ned goes to the therapist.
Yeah.
His most creative angle is he just swaps their names.
He is Mr. Digby.
He's Mr. Digby.
And the dog's name is Ned.
It's just Ned. And then she calls him out well, no, dog mating is not just for the species. It's for the dog. And he's because he's thinking about Chuck and Olive and this whole fucking thing he's going through, and she fucking nails him to that whole thing, and he's just oh god. Chuck faking being blind, and then how'd you lose your sight? Oh, it was a tragic cataract accident. She's I know you're not blind, and she's oh, thank God.
And and then just tells her everything, the truth, pretty much.
Yeah, and then just spills or whatever. I love how between them they gave out enough details that all the wives can then show up or something.
Because they are sister wives.
It's
they talk.
Amazing. Yeah, it's amazing. It's that kind of thing.
That kind of party.
Olive had a good
polygamous
thing.
party.
So Olive had a whole costume, and
Olive was Pimento.
Yeah, she had all the names picked out. She had all these backstories, but then she ends up spilling the details because something triggers a real memory. Where she's I had a horse named Pie, and then it's oh blah blah blah, the horse not the pie, and then blah blah blah, and a building shaped like pie, the food not the horse, and goes through the whole thing. And that's what and the the wives can assemble all these details and come and nail them. Emerson's thing's much bigger and goes on for a lot longer. He goes back over and over again, but he's hello. They're
Emerson was totally down.
Yeah,
and she's single now, so that's illegal.
I can't help but notice you are not married anymore. Perhaps you'd like to hang out.
His face whenever the click happens, he's
that's so good. No, I know. And the narrator says, unbeknownst to Emerson, he was being trained too, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
When she chloroforms him later, and he's wrestling,
and ties him up,
wrestling around, and she's riding a mechanical bull on his back. It was that's great.
I just love so she has chloroform. That's a thing. And
for dogs.
And then the other one, the one that actually poisoned the husband, What did she use? She used
Did they say it was arsenic?
arsenic,
Which
and
is
she
that
had
the
a
one
big
that's almonds?
jar called arsenic, but like a fancy weird shaped like genie bottle of arsenic.
I did not see that, but I
Oh,
love that.
when they showed her dumping it into the almond
Oh,
flour
like
for the coffee
in the
or whatever.
flashback. Yeah. No, that's great. That's great.
I was like, where do you get arsenic in that jar that is branded arsenic? Like,
From the arsenic store.
seemingly.
It's very good. When it's like one of Joel McHale's few speaking things is him like describing in like great detail how he was like it tasted bitter like almonds. I thought my almond creamer had just gone bad, but before I it like
But
like,
persistently, I took another drink.
But it like took him too long to realize, and then he got poisoned. His thing like that was right out of like Boondock Saints when like you see the flashback and then it's like here's how it really happened and it's just him slipping and constantly like stabbing himself like over and over again. I'm like
I kept trying to get up.
That's super dumb and great. That's wonderful.
I love that, like, in the midst of dying of poison, and after the first stabbing, he's able to get up one more time to get stabbed again. To get up a third time, because he got stabbed 4 times,
Yeah,
I think.
he was stabbed many times. It's amazing. And unfortunately placed sharp handle of like a doggy brush, etc., etc.
Yep.
So the plot here of the killing, right, is he had engineered a new dog.
Yeah, a 4-way split between
The
like
Collador Russelapoo.
yeah,
I wrote it down. 'Cause I'm
Jack
like,
Russell Terrier,
what?
a poodle,
a collie,
a cocker spaniel or something,
and a door.
and a door. Yeah,
Just a wooden door.
but that dog didn't even look that awesome. Like,
dog
it
looked
looked like
gross.
a weird mud of a
It
dog.
looked like Jim Carrey's dog from that movie.
Odie?
It looked like like some sort of gross, horrible dog or something. I don't like dogs, but I don't like this dog more than most.
The dog, the one that was training 3 dogs and went bang, bang, bang,
Yeah.
that was Jim Carrey's dog.
Yeah, literally it was.
Yeah.
But like this dog was just a gross. I don't know what they did to the poor dog, if that's really how a dog looks, but that dog looked gross. No offense to that dog. I'm sure you're a lovely person, dog.
That dog's dead.
I hope it is.
Well, this show
It
came
was
out.
filmed in 2002 or something.
Yeah.
I know. I know the dog's dead. All right, let's just move on. I'm sorry. Jeez. But they want to like clone this dog. They want this dog to be everywhere. He's like the perfect dog.
Yeah.
He's the Uber dog.
Oh, smart, hypoallergenic, something, takes care of the blind. I don't know.
Sure. But I was like, okay, whatever. And it's your predictable thing where like he had made a deal and they plotted to kill him, but then like the wires got crossed.
I would say it's extra convoluted and not that predictable because
No. I mean, like, when there's like someone dies. Oh, he just changed his will. Oh, but had they not killed him, then the thing would have done this because he was also planning to donate to her charity, but then he died before he could do it. Or like, oh, they had just they were gonna get married, so they killed him to stop it. But he was gonna do this so that even if they got married, it wouldn't have been right. He like she kidnaps the dog, even though he already she kidnaps the dog because she didn't know the other wife was going to kill him. It's like a Matlock or like a
it all
what's his name?
T.J. Hooker,
Perry Mason,
Columbo.
I was gonna say it's like a convoluted Columbo murder plot. It's like that sort of thing. I mean, yeah.
I noticed that dog collar was
Can't help
moved.
but notice the collar is over here. His eye is going over there. Yeah. If it was him.
It was a decent episode though. I liked all their little back and forths. We get to more talking about the kiss we had between Olive and Ned.
Well, so getting away from the case, right? That's the other plot. Is it all's hardcore on the kiss? It opens with a dream sequence. That's super
Very
trippy.
interesting.
She
but,
falls.
And speaking of trippy, so she gets out of bed, stumbles, falls on him, and should die.
Doesn't
and this
die.
is something that could happen. And it also leads to me to go, they have an impossibly large bedroom. Because he just, out of the blue, added a second bed. He didn't have it the whole time. So his bedroom was big enough that it had this giant room for a
the
bed.
other bed was for Digby.
Maybe, and then that's so rude that she took Digby's
She
bed.
took Digby's bed. Yeah.
I could actually see Digby having his own bed because he can't sleep in his bed.
I know.
So that makes sense.
And now they just sleep together.
Yeah.
There's a whole
She gets the
overarching.
warmth.
There's a whole overarching thing here with like they even say like, well, maybe you should like kiss other people, and maybe I should hold other people's hands, and that could just be okay or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a weird like dark like surrogate fucking strange like thing happening or whatever that they're just handling with like the light comedic touch or something like that. But it conjures up all these horrible things.
No,
like,
well,
oh god.
Well, because they're in a really terrible position. Because this is
sucks.
something that like people. I'm sure at face where it's like, oh, this person doesn't meet my needs for this, that, and other thing, so we do this. But this is like that person physically can't ever touch me ever, and is like.
No, because like people get sick, they end up in wheelchairs. Like it gets really dark and like real and all that stuff. This is like a fun thing where she's magic and like back from the dead or whatever. So it's not quite the same level of like shittiness, but like yes, I think people find creative solutions to these problems in their real life.
Yeah.
But when Chuck takes off her skin suit to reveal herself to be Olive.
Yes.
Like
Olive like perfectly made up inside a skin suit.
Yeah. I already knew that it was a dream, but that was like what? That was crazy for this. And then he ends up telling Emerson like you said dreams don't matter, right? And he's like, "No, it's just a pile of crap or whatever." And then he's like, "Okay, because I had a dream that I was having sex with Olive wearing a Chuck suit," and he goes, "Oh," something like that. That's pretty on the nose, boy.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Something like, there's no way this conversation is not awkward for me.
Yeah, he was great. They go on to talk about different stuff. I wrote down a line from that conversation, but like simultaneously, Olive's talking to Chuck and he's talking to Emerson about this kiss. It's this whole thing going on.
Yeah.
Emerson says something like some women love like gangsters. Like, "Ooh, baby, what happened? Why are you bleeding?" While they're holding a razor or something like that. And I was like, okay, that's pretty good.
They pull a razor out of their weave.
Well, I
like that.
I think I could pull off that line. I'm too white to say.
Can't say weave.
I'm too white to say weave or fam. Like sup fam. It doesn't sound. It doesn't work.
Because you put like 6 M's into it.
Fam. Yeah. See, sounds pathetic when I say it.
Indeed.
I can't pull it off. But later that's a callback to like gangster love because he meets a really hard bitch, and it's the whole thing. And then he has his own dream sequence, and the narrator fills in all the details of like, even though he thought dreamology was bullshit, he his dream revealed to him blah 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 blah, and you're like, nice, bookends. Like little bookends, like little salt and pepper shakers.
So the end of this episode is like like they figure out all that stuff. They understand. They're like, okay, they go to find that Mr. What's his name? Like Mr. Cockapoo or something.
Doobly
whatever. So he's the puppy mill salesman.
Yeah.
And they go to find him, and he's dead. He's been arsenicked.
Yeah.
And I love what their plan is, and I don't know that I think this could ever work.
You don't think that they can weekend it at Bernie's into a funeral with a dead body?
It's not
bring
that
him back to life?
they couldn't bring him in potentially without maybe somebody going like, "Why are you carrying that guy into the fucking funeral?"
Yeah.
But the plan is to touch him, to spook the one who killed him, and to find out who killed him, and then touch him again. And he dies. Now, I don't think it works in the way that like you touch him again and like a coroner would be like, okay, he just died. Like I think like they would know.
I don't know how a coroner would approach it.
And how did they even get him out of his office? Like it's such a weird, it's because it's a cartoon of a show.
Yeah,
that it's not super important, but it's very peculiar to me. The whole I guess you don't get accused of his murder because people saw him a lot. You're hoping a lot like that somebody saw him talk or move.
People there would have seen it, but so I had the same thought, and I'm like, okay, great. Ned runs from the building, tackles some grieving widow. There's a private investigator and a presumed dead lady there, and now a dead body is just on the floor, like in the pew of like the funeral area, right? And like yes, the coroner hopefully is gonna say magic, probably is gonna say poison, and you're like, so you brought in a like dying of poison guy to like scream at a widow and then tackled her and all that stuff. So like no,
it doesn't really sell
I don't think
as them not going to jail.
This is like the ultimate, at the end of the horror movie when like the person wins, and then you like think back where you're like, well, you burned the like supernatural killer alive, and back at your house, like your uncle's dead, that like neighbor girl is dead, that like delivery boy is dead. Wait a minute,
you stole the car that you drove there with,
right? Like that wasn't your car. This happened. You had to escape the cops once already. I'm pretty sure you're wanted for like at least those 3 murders, if not that. That person saw you doing that. Okay, no, like it's a happy ending, but you're fucked, right?
Yeah, and they're not as fucked as your typical horror movie person is, but it was an interesting ploy. I don't know that it would have been my move.
To balance that out, I did like the idea. Like Ned goes to like revive him, and Emerson's like, "No, I have a plan. Let's not waste this like temp res here. Let's relocate and like execute
almost
something."
A shocking idea by him, because he's not usually the guy that goes against the grain, and like it's usually the quickest, the easiest,
procedure.
the no risk, I get the money thing.
Yeah.
And it's all for 25 grand split 3 ways, presumably. It's not like it's for a crazy amount of money that you risk going to jail for murder.
I could pay my bills with blind kids, dreams.
Smiles?
But their money's better. Smiles, yeah. But their money works much better. Newspaper?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I do like it, though, because something would get old about just questioning them all the time. And, like, in this episode, they did refine the question time, where it's like a rapid fire. You have 1 minute. It began 15 seconds ago.
It still felt longer than a minute.
Yeah, I've never timed them just because I can't. I can't bear to be disappointed to that degree. But it always feels like more than a minute. Yeah. I'm sure it's not a real minute, but it might be a real minute. And then later, right? So like they're not, they already know. Well, hey, like the first guy didn't have much to say about who poisoned him. I doubt this guy will. But we can use him to smoke out the real whatever. And Emerson says, because now he's learned from hanging out with Simone and like talking about stuff, dog talk for like several days or whatever, hours, whatever. He's like, they run when when they're guilty, when they're scared or whatever. So we can do this. And the wives all react differently. Oh my God, what the fuck? How dare you? And like runs or whatever. And I'm like, yes, good. And the one wife has handcuffs on.
Yeah.
It like goes
Somehow
down the
she
line.
got to be at the funeral.
And then she goes like, it's like rubbing her eye like that. Yeah.
It was pretty much assumed that the first wife was the the guilty
it's
party.
It's logical, right? Did you have it pegged? Did you
I had no memory of her no proof. But my guess is always I'm like, well, the first one was once alone, and now she is not.
No, it is her. It's the most logical, and she had the least, besides the psychologist, who seemed really broken up. So I was like, I know that's like could be fake too, but I was kind of like whatever. In my memory, like they all did it or something like that, where they all had like different parts of it, and that's kind of almost how it works.
I brewed the coffee, and I put the poison in the coffee, and I gave him the coffee, and I wiped off our fingerprints.
Well, the fact that like one stole the dog, and one hands him the coffee, but the other poisoned the coffee, and the other is just acting, so whatever. Like so, in my head, I think I just extracted like they all did different stuff and they had a thing.
Sure.
But no, like the one just literally plotted to kill him. Yeah. And it's the oldest thing in the book, and it calls back. So like
tale as old as time.
Tale as old as time.
Polygamists.
Your first of four. Your first of 4 wives is bitter, and then conspires to kill you, so you don't sell this cash cow of like a dog. Well, for her, it's like a love cow that she milks for love. But it calls back to that montage that I loved, because even if you didn't pick up on the quote unquote like subtlety of her sour face as each wife gets added, right, you can now look at the whole thing together and be like, yes, of course, good, and it all makes sense. Yeah, like it.
Yeah, decent episode.
Decent episode indeed. Yeah, no. I don't think I will get there eventually, but this is not an episode where I'm like, oh, this sucked. This is different. This is not the gem of like goodness that I like.
I can't recall every episode off the top of my head. Once I start seeing them, I remember a little more. But I don't remember there being any bad episodes of this show.
I'm waiting. I really want to tear into something for being really bad. That's my strength.
Well, maybe episode 7.
Fingers crossed.
All right, guys, that's this episode. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.